Hello everyone, it's me, Therapy. In this video, we'll be discussing how you can build your best team comp for Xiao. This video is part 2 of my Xiao guide. If you haven't seen the first part for the best weapons, you should watch that one too, but you can watch it after this one. It's not really important. There is no one best team comp or one team comp that's better than any other team comp. This will all depend on the situation or what characters you own. A good team comp will include an animal battery, sub DPS, healer, and utility. Some characters can fulfill more than one of these roles or even 3 at the same time if they can do it. So let's look at all the viable characters and see what type of roles they can fulfill. Let's start with animal battery since everybody needs to run a battery in any normal team comp. First we have Sucrose, probably the best battery currently for Xiao at C1 or with a sacrificial fragment weapon. Without one of these, the cooldown on her E is too high to be any use. Sucrose can also fulfill the role of buffing Xiao using Dragon Slayer or 4-piece Noblesse, so it's a very good pick and one of the favorite picks in my opinion. Venti is the second best battery, but when he ults on smaller enemies, you won't be able to hit them with a plunge attack, so 10 out of 10 would recommend. But with proper rotation, this can be avoided, but that will be for the combo video. The next 3 characters I'm going to talk about have the same amount of battery, so I won't really rank them. So first off, we have Jean. She could be a really decent healer and decent sub DPS and can also buff if you put Noblesse on her. Xiao is a healer and decent sub DPS as well if you build her correctly. Kazuha is amazing sub DPS but is way better used in a team comp that involves elemental reactions instead of the Xiao comp. Lastly, we have the Traveler, or I should say Animal Traveler to be more specific. It can shred CC, but probably the worst and not recommended option at all. For the next part, instead of going role by role, I'm just going to go over all the characters and what they could do for Xiao and what roles they can fulfill. Starting off with Albedo. Albedo is an amazing sub DPS character with good elemental burst DPS as well. Can also buff if you run under Geo characters and get Geo resonance while shielded. Zonli has an insane shield with shred. Can also buff if you're running 4-piece Mirrorless artifact with okay sub DPS if you're near a pillar or tower, but that's not really consistent, and great burst DPS as well. Ningguang has amazing burst DPS and can add Geo resonance like any other Geo character. Geo MC is also pretty decent with decent burst DPS plus Geo resonance and 10% crit chance if you're inside of the ult, so if you're missing crit, this could be a little bit helpful. Ganyu is a good sub DPS character but should be better used in another team comp as a main DPS. She has 100% uptime with a low cooldown on her ultimate, so it's very consistent DPS constantly coming from a Ganyu ult. Diona offers really good shield, a good healer, and you can also put 4-piece Noblesse on her and have that as a way to buff your attack percent on Xiao. Qiqi is overkill of a healer but can buff with Noblesse, but it's not recommended. Bennett, you already know him, good heals, excellent buff from Talon plus Noblesse, but you kind of need him to be at C1 to be any good at both, and if you build him correctly, which I like to build him as like sub DPS Bennett to orientate a little bit more forwards like damage instead of, you know, more heals. I think Bennett can be pretty decent as like a sub or burst DPS on his ult. It's actually not that terrible and he can still heal a bunch, so yeah. And also option for Pyro Resonance to get more attack percent. Xiangling is probably one of the best sub DPS currently in the game, and if you run her with Bennett, you can have Pyro Resonance for even more attack percent. Fischl is an excellent single target DPS with okay particle gain, just if you lack a little bit, just a tiny bit less energy you need. Fischl could do that, but single target only. Fido could have very good group sub DPS with her ultimate if you can have that up all the time, but she suffers from the same thing as Xingqiu, which we'll talk about later. Lisa can shred with ultimate at Ascension 4 plus Dragon Slayer buff, but that's about all. It's not very useful in a good team comp at all, so I wouldn't recommend running her. Xingqiu is an excellent sub DPS and somewhat of a healer with shield if you look at it that way, but not really. The only downside of Xingqiu is that you need to involve a combo with a normal attack in it to proc range swords, kind of like Fido, and Fido has the same downfall as Xingqiu, which is you need to have auto attacks in a combo to proc any of her abilities. Barbara is a healer plus Dragon Slayer buff, but that's about all. Doesn't really more to offer, so not the greatest. So that was a lot of characters, and I'll put a chart on the screen right now to show you what the characters are really good at and what roles they can fulfill and what I would rank them at. Do keep in mind these rankings could change depending on situation, and this is not 100% like this is the best character for this role. The situation could change and the rankings could differ, but this is just a general guideline of what each character could rank or how good they can do that role. That is about about all if you really just want to make a quick, easy team comp to use. Just need to cover those 4 roles with your rest of your 3 characters, and the battery one has to be fulfilled, or else you would not have high uptime with your ultimate. Your team comp won't be bad, but it won't be the best, because some characters work better with others and not as well with other characters as well. So in this next section, I'll quickly go over which characters work nicely with each other and how well they synergize together. Any Geo character basically work well together, kind of like animal characters. They work well together, they don't really interfere with anything, and their reactions don't mess up anything really in this team comps at least. But Albedo Ningguang might not be the best if you're running those two together, because you are missing Geo resonance as you don't have a way to get shields, as you can't really crystallize animal with Geo, so you can't get shields that way. Albedo plus Zhongli is basically a fan favorite. Anybody that has Albedo and Zhongli almost never run these two separate, they just always run them together as you can generate an insane amounts of shield. But with animal, again, no shields for Albedo, so you kind of want to run a Zhongli. Bennett also works great with a lot of characters, but better with characters that can slapshot his attack boost from ultimate. That means characters like Fischl, Shunning, Ganyu, or even animal characters besides Xiao, they all work well with Bennett. But of course, Shunning plus Bennett is Pyro Resonance for even bigger attack boost. Jincho works great while solo, but can't snapshot Bennett ult. With Shunning, you can do reverse vaporize as well, or electro charge with Fischl or Baido. The only downside is that you need to have an auto attacking based combo, and your animal battery has to be a healer too, so you're pretty much left with Jean or Sayu as a battery option, and they are not the best batteries, like I said before. Probably want to build a little bit of energy recharge if you're using Jean or Sayu. Mona plus Cryo plus an animal character equals Omen extension, so huge DPS gain, and we're gonna running all of those as well if you're gonna run Mona, and I recommend you doing Omen extension because it's a huge damage boost and overall really good. And Diona is a very good unit to run with Mona as well. Not really recommended with Chi-Chi, doesn't apply Cryo that effectively. So that's all the team synergy, and I'll give you a few example comps so you kind of have an idea what you're looking for in a comp, or if you want, you can just steal one of these team comps and run for yourself. First off, we have Xiao, Jean, Albedo, and Zhongli. So Xiao obviously is going to be our main DPS, Jean will be our healer and battery, Albedo will be our sub DPS, Zhongli will be our utility plus a little bit of sub DPS as well, so a very good team comp. Next off, we have Xiao, Venti, Mono, and Diona. So Venti will be our sub DPS plus a little bit of CC for utility and a decent battery as well. Mona would be our buff with our Omen extension. Diona can offer some shield and heals as well. For our last example team comp, we have Sucrose, Shunning, and Bennett. Sucrose as battery plus a little bit of crowd control, CC utility, and Shunning will be our sub DPS. Bennett will be our healer plus utility buff. As you can see, all 3 of these team comps fulfill the 4 roles that's needed to be a good team, and these team comps are really good, and I would run them any day as well if I have to. There are a lot more team comps that should be good as well, and these are not the only ones that you could run. So go out there, try building your own team comp, look at what characters you have, and build a team comp that actually fits you if you don't have any of these characters. So this video was a lot faster to make than I thought it would be compared to like the weapon one. I guess not as much like calculations and setting up spreadsheets, but it might come out before the 2.4 update, and if it does, then wow, that's good. If it doesn't, then well, best of luck if you are playing 2.4 right now and doing wishes. I hope you guys get Xiao, and best of luck on your wishes and have a good day.